Welcome to Nightlight Theatre. Tonight, a story about overcoming fears. Before we begin, if you'd like to hear this episode completely ad-free or with a different background ambience, head to the Patreon link in the description below. And with that, take a breath, get cozy, and let's drift into it. Sam wasn't supposed to still be awake at close to 4 a.m., but the lights were still on, throwing long shadows across the room and onto the floor where they fell on the canvas she couldn't make herself look at directly. Tomorrow morning at 10, the Midtown Gallery would open its doors and her paintings would be on the walls for the first time in 5 years. She had said yes to the show 3 months ago, mostly because Jamie had asked in person over coffee, and it felt rude to say no out loud. She'd been quietly regretting it every day since. She left the apartment because the walls felt too close, and her thoughts began to feel larger than the room. She didn't have anywhere in mind to go. She just walked. She walked down streets gone quiet. She walked down streets gone orange under streetlights. She kept walking until she passed a narrow shop front still lit at this hour. A simple blue wooden sign over the door that read Kettle and Pot. She'd walked by it 100 times in daylight and never once gone in. Tonight, the windows were warm and amber behind frosted glass, and her feet started to make their way toward the door almost on instinct. Inside, it smelled like steeped jasmine and the scent of burning wood coming from the fireplace. Low lamps sat on every table, small paper shades throwing concentric circles of light across polished wood. Somewhere in the back, a radio played low, some late-night jazz station, more static than music. "We're closing in a while, but sit wherever," a voice said from behind one of the tables. "Kettle's already on anyway." The woman had silver hair pulled back loose, deep wrinkles on her face that crinkled easily, and hands rough and sore from what looked like decades of hard work. She wore a gray dress with a tea towel hanging off her shoulder as she went around tidying up. She didn't seem the least bit bothered to have a customer at this hour. "Sorry, I didn't realize how late it was," Sam said, glancing at the clock behind the counter. "I can come back another—" Sit, the woman said as she waved a hand toward the nearest table. "I've got half a pot of oolong going cold and nobody to drink it. You'd be surprised how often I get people coming in with too much on their mind and nowhere to dispense of it." Sam sat down, mostly because it seemed easier than arguing. And the woman came around with 2 cups and a pot and settled into the chair across from her like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Yuki," the woman said, pouring the tea. "Sam, you look like someone who's got something to do and isn't thrilled about it." Sam huffed out something that wasn't quite a laugh. Is it that obvious? 40 years running a shop teaches you to read a face pretty quick. Yuki pushed the cup toward her. "Doesn't mean you have to tell me anything. Tea's good on its own, too." Sam wrapped both hands around the cup. The warmth and the aroma seeped into her body slowly, and for a moment she just sat with that, the small relief of something simple. Yuki got up without a word and came back with a plate of leftover almond cookies from the case. setting them down between the two cups. "It's a day old, but still quite good if I may say so myself," Yuki said. "Nobody buys them after 6, and I'm not eating a whole tray myself." Sam, trying her best to be polite, took one and found it was still good. A little stale, but good. "I've got a show opening tomorrow," Sam said finally, surprising herself. "My first one in 5 years. Isn't that a good thing?" "It's supposed to be." Sam turned her cup a quarter turn on the saucer, not really looking at it. "Last time I showed anything, some critic printed a review calling my work derivative. Lifeless, actually, was the word he used. Handed it to me himself at my own opening, like he was showing me some kindness by being direct." Yuki's wrinkles twisted with surprise and said more than any words might have in that moment. "I didn't paint again for 2 years after that. Told everyone I'd just gotten busy." Sam picked at the edge of the cookie, not eating it. "I only started again a few months ago, and only because my friend basically pushed me into it. I'm thankful to her for doing it, but I'm worried there's a whole room of my paintings hanging up, waiting for people to say stuff again." Yuki didn't rush to answer. She took a slow sip of her own tea. Sam appreciated the calm that Yuki radiated. She took a sip herself, took a deep breath, and got lost in the sound of the crackling fire. After contemplating a moment, Yuki finally responded. "Did you stop painting because you were afraid of what people might say?" Sam opened her mouth to answer quickly and then stopped. "Yes," she admitted. I've been telling people I've had a creative block, but that's not it. 2 years is a long time to go without something you love, just to avoid one person's opinion. But what if it isn't just one person? What if other people are thinking the same, but just nodding along because they're being polite? Fear tends to build on top of itself and distort everything in front of us." Yuki reached for the chipped mug she'd been drinking from and turned it so Sam could see the small crack along the rim, glazed over long ago, clearly old. "This one's been chipped 10 years. Still holds tea just fine. I kept it because I like it better than the ones without a mark on them. Feels like it's got history. Feels like if it could speak, it would tell you some stories." "Is that a metaphor?" Sam asked. "Could be. Might just be a cheap opinion about mugs." Yuki shrugged, unbothered, and took another sip from it anyway. Sam laughed at that. Actually laughed. Either way, someone's opinion about it wouldn't stop me from using it. Sam's phone buzzed on the table between them. A text from Jamie. "Early birds already lining up. See you at 9:45? Don't chicken out on me." Sam looked at it for a while, feeling the old familiar clench start up low in her stomach. "Is that your friend?" "That's her," Sam said as she set the phone face down. "Part of me wants to text her back and say I'm sick. I've thought about it probably 600 times since I left my apartment tonight. So why didn't you?" "I don't actually know." Sam turned the phone over again, looked at the message once more, then set it back down. "Maybe I'm tired of being the wallflower. Maybe I don't want to care what anyone thinks and just show my work off for what it is." Yuki didn't respond and simply smiled at Sam. Sam noticed her shoulders beginning to ease and the tightness in her chest beginning to wane. They sat a while longer without talking much. the radio still buzzing low somewhere in the back, both cups slowly going cold. Finally, Sam uttered, "Thank you." "For the tea? Oh, don't worry about it. You can pay me after your show tomorrow," Yuki replied, with a wry, cheeky smile. "No, I mean for—" Sam chuckled slightly. "I should probably let you close up." The sun was starting to come up, and the birds had begun their song for the day. "You're more than welcome to keep sitting." Yuki stood anyway and started clearing the cups, unhurried. "Would you like a cup for the walk home? On the house. Might help with the nerves." "I'd like that," Sam said. Yuki poured the tea into a paper cup from behind the counter, then paused, glanced at the chipped mug still sitting on the table, and picked that one up instead, tipping the last of its contents out into the sink and washing it, before refilling it and handing it across. "Keep the mug too," Yuki said. "I've got plenty." Sam turned it over in her hands, feeling the small, rough edge where the crack had been smoothed down by years of washing. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. Least useful thing in the world is a mug sitting in a cupboard because somebody's afraid to chip it further." Yuki waved her toward the door. "Go home. Get some sleep if you can manage it. And if you don't feel ready, just know that feeling ready is usually the last thing that shows up, not the first." Sam stepped out into the street with the warm mug in both hands, the cold morning air sharp and clean in her lungs. The sky had gone from black to bruised with shades of purple and orange. She didn't know yet what tomorrow's crowd would think of her work finally back on a wall. But walking home slower than she'd walked out, the mug's crack warm under her thumb, she found that not knowing didn't feel like something to be afraid of anymore. She reached her building as the sun came up over the rooftops and let herself in. She set the chipped mug down on the kitchen counter where she'd see it after she woke. Sam stood for a moment in front of the doorway before she finally crossed it and picked up a brush she hadn't touched in a few days. Not to fix anything, just to feel the weight of it in her hands again, taking in the smell of the oils and linseed, reveling in what she knew in her bones was her calling. At 9:45, she walked into the gallery with the mug's small chip still fresh in her memory, and found Jamie waiting by the door, whom she greeted with a hug and a big smile. A line of people waiting nearby. Some of the faces seemed excited, some still groggy as they sipped their morning coffee. Sam felt that tightness in her chest again. But this time, it wasn't uncomfortable. It felt like butterflies, the good kind. Whatever it was, she was ready to embrace everything that came with it. And with that, let's call it a night. Keep the nightlight on and sleep well.